Thank you so much for joining us. This is Sidebar. Go to sidebartv.com, and that's where you can find a social media platform so you can also join us online. So many things happening again this week. It just never stops. I guess the most heartbreaking story that I have just been obsessed with is the Brian Kohberger story. He arrived in Idaho's only maximum security prison this week to start his life, and some say probably death sentence. He got 4 consecutive life sentences, no chance of parole, another 10 years for killing those beautiful young people. For some reason, the Epstein case is still in the news. Ghislaine Maxwell questioned for like 6 hours in a Florida U.S. Attorney's office this week. Maybe both of you can shed light on why that continues. And then now the biggest story to me, I guess it is, apparently there's real documentation that National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe posted about in social media. They've been on television appearances. They have proof that President Obama, administration officials manipulated intelligence, conspired to undermine the legitimacy of Trump's victory back in 2016. Every week you can come here to hear the former Bexar County DA Nico LaHood, trial lawyer, managing partner for LaHood Norton Law Group, and George Araujo, scholar, former chemist, pharmaceutical researcher, and director. The big question many are asking, and I can't get my head around it, is Obama going to jail? Do we get to see the mugshot? Hello, you guys. How are you doing?
Well, great. You know, I just came back from a family trip this week, so if I look a little charred.
I noticed you have a tan, yes.
I'm a little charred. I mean, that's where we all are a little bit, but it was wonderful. I'm just trying to console Salo and George because of Kohberger being fired.
Oh, yeah.
And they're getting over it. They're gonna deal with it. I'm worried that Salo's gonna start drinking more. But
did Trump fire him?
Well,
no, it was the ratings that fired him.
Well, I mean, indirectly, it was Trump deranged syndrome. I mean, the guy went off the rails. I mean, he just, everything Trump, dishonest about it. He was obsessed with it. He forced his views on people. It was insufferable. At one point, he used to be a little bit kind of humorous. I did enjoy him for a while. I thought he was funny. And then he just got, I don't know. He just didn't care about the people that supported him. Yeah. He forced his opinion. Look, we're not going to talk about that this week, but I just thought I'd bust your chops a little bit. But look, there's a lot. You mentioned 3 topics that are big topics. Yeah. I don't know which one you want to go through first. I mean, there's a lot to talk about.
I don't know either. George, you pick the one?
Well, I mean, you started with Obama. Actually, you started with Kohberger, but we might as well talk about that because what do you think? I mean, we seem to have gotten justice. That I don't know where to start. I went back to the comments of the judge. The judge didn't hold back, and the sentences are without the possibility of parole, and it was 4 counts plus. Right. So it was a murder count for each one where he was found guilty, and then there was an additional. So the judge specifically said he's going to die in jail, so there's no chance of parole. So is that actually true? So
yes.
It's actually true that he can't, under any circumstances, come up. Is there anything that could change in the future, other than admitting some sort of evidence that wasn't prior known?
A commutation or something
him?
Like that, right? A pardon or a commutation. Look, in Texas, he would have, and I heard there was criticism. They should have sought the death penalty. I'm racking my brain as someone who made death penalty decisions here as district attorney. I thought to myself, why would you not? What are the reasons why you wouldn't seek the death penalty? In Texas, if you murder someone during an enumerated crime, specific felony, like an aggravated robbery, an aggravated kidnapping, aggravated sexual assault, some type of, there's certain crimes, murdering a police officer, a judge, or if you murder a child under 10 years old, or if you murder multiple people in the same incident, the same event, then you are facing capital murder charges. In Texas, they can seek the death penalty. And I'm just trying to think of why why you would not, seek to pursue the death penalty as a crime, as something so heinous as this. I mean, when you think about the death penalty, I mean, I'm a responsible supporter of the death penalty. I don't believe the death penalty is a deterrent. I just don't. I mean, I don't know how many people think to themselves, I'm not going to commit this crime because I may get the death penalty. I just haven't seen data on that, and I don't think it's a deterrent, especially how long it takes for someone to actually face the death penalty. I think if you gave someone due process, you gave them an expedited trial after full due process, full exchange of evidence, and all evidence exculpatory included, meaning evidence of innocence is given over to the defense, and they're given time to prepare, and then they have a trial within 3 to 5 years, and then you do your appeal, and then maybe you're facing death in 5 to 7 years, and it's a public hanging or a public shooting. That might be deterrence. Not the way it's done now. But
this is news to me. I didn't realize you took that position, because there's a whole other argument on the other side that says it is a deterrent.
I haven't seen the data on it.
I was going to ask, you obviously are not very convinced by it, but just the notion that, because there's a lot of people that are quote unquote, that's why I asked you without the possibility of parole, because there's a lot of stories I've read of people who are, it's a life sentence, but it's, a life with quotation marks. Somehow, 15, 20 years go by, 25 years, and for whatever reason, due to a parole event, they get out. And so,
so in Texas, if you're facing capital murder, there's only two options unless they waived capital, and then they plead down to a murder. You're either going to die in prison now. In the old days, you were eligible for parole after 40 years. So you're either going to die in prison, or you're going to die through the death, through illegal injection, lethal injection. Sorry, not illegal, lethal injection.
Lethal injection.
So that's the only two options unless you plead down to something different. And so when you look at the heinousness, you have to think about. So the death penalty is appropriate for crimes, in my opinion, that create such a moral tear, a moral rift in society, that it calls for the ultimate punishment, that you have to separate someone from society forever. I mean, not even subject people in prison and incarceration to this person. That's what you think about, at least for the death penalty. I mean, I believe in it. Okay. I support it. I witnessed the execution of my brother's murderer. I've made death penalty decisions, and I've chose against the death penalty when other people wanted me to choose death penalty. So I mean, I'm very, I understand this process very deeply. And you think to yourself, why would the DA not choose death in a case? I mean, this is one of the girls was not recognizable.
Right.
I mean, he disfigured her face with a knife. Some of the victims were stabbed 30 to 50 times. I mean, to disfigure, to carve out someone's face. I mean, that's very deliberate. And they fought back. I mean, just the total depravity and heinousness and the effect not only on that community but on the country. And the only thing I can think of, and I'm not saying this is the case, is if there were some really bad facts of the victims that would come out in a trial, and that the DA went to the families and said, look, this fact, and this fact is coming out about this group of folks. Now, I'll seek the death, or do you want me to go life and plea bargain? Up to you, because I don't remember hearing the families. Were they upset that they didn't seek death?
I don't know. I don't know. But the thing that I kept on thinking of is, if they were to say that he was mentally, insane or criminally insane, would there then have been the chance that he would have just gone to a mental institute?
Yes.
Then that's what
Not
I was
guilty,
thinking.
But they didn't claim that.
They didn't even put that one.
They
right.
didn't claim that.
Well,
so insanity deals with, at the time of the crime, that the person doesn't have the mental capacity, the mens rea, to commit the crime. They're hearing things, and the devil made them do it. They're hearing voices, things like that. So you cannot regain sanity. If you're found insane at the time of the allegation, you don't go back and have sanity at the time of the allegation, because it's already done.
Well, I was thinking about the guy that killed John Lennon. I mean, didn't they say he was insane? But now he's free. That's what I was thinking.
You can technically regain sanity, and then you can be released. Competency is something different, though.
So the prosecutor said this, quote, "We cannot fathom the toll that this case has taken on your family." He's saying to the victims' families, "This resolution is our sincere attempt to seek justice for your family. This agreement ensures that the defendant will be convicted, will spend the rest of his life in prison, and will not be able to put you and the other families through the uncertainty of decades of post-conviction appeals." And in the DA's report, separately from that, said that they sought a plea deal. In exchange, as part of the plea deal, they forewent the death penalty to get those
to ensure that he was going to stay there.
In addition to the felony burglary, and some of the families were on board with that because they didn't want a protracted, painful trial. And then I want you to weigh in on this concern about post-conviction appeals.
Well, I mean, you can appeal. I know we're going to go to break here shortly, but you can appeal for years and years. I mean, it can take up to 10 years plus before you actually see and witness, or the execution of the convicted person actually occurs. I mean, so you're holding off and you're living this out potentially for years to come.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to take a break right now, but I have a bunch of questions that I still need to ask about this. But everybody, if you can, go to sidebartv.com, get online, and we will be right back after this. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Sidebar on WOAI. Remember, go to sidebartv.com and please consider contributing to the show so that we can continue on with great conversations like these with Nico and George. So what were we talking about? What were the options that you were thinking might have been the case with this Kohberger case?
Well, I think what Nico just said about the possibility of post-conviction appeals. So you're found guilty, you're sentenced to death penalty, and it can be years and years and years before you actually meet your maker. I mean, in some cases, decades. And so I think people are jaded. You know, when a sentence like that comes down, they're like, yeah, right, like that's ever going to happen. And we know what happens because we hear of people, being put to death. But it almost seems very rare. And so I guess I'm wondering how is that avoided? How do you? Because this becomes a huge drain on the system. It's also emotionally heart-wrenching for the victims' families. Is there no way around this?
Around what?
Around the fact that you can have these sort of appeals into perpetuity. At what point? You had a trial.
They're just big cases. You have to get the record. You have to do an appeal. You get a direct appeal. You can do a writ. You can do a post. I mean, so there's a lot of post-conviction stuff that you can do. You're going to do an investigation, look for new evidence, review all the evidence, all the transcripts, everything. And so appellate work is hard work. It's what Patrick does in our office. He's board certified in appellate law and criminal law, by the way. And so it's tedious. I mean, you're dealing with someone's life, so they deserve that type of due diligence and due process. But you don't want to expedite it because then you don't want an innocent person somehow being executed. You can't reverse that.
What does it take to deserve that? You go through a trial unless there's actually new evidence that passes.
There could be procedural problems. There could be an objection and a constitutional violation. There could be a problem with the investigation. There could be a recantation. Not that that's as strong as much anymore because people can recant all the time. But there could be new evidence that wasn't presented to a jury. So that's a whole different proceeding. It's not a direct appeal. There could be a bad ruling by a judge, and it could be such a degree to where it could have had the effect where the appellate court can believe it has the effect on the outcome. And that just takes time. And then doing appeals, and the new lawyer that works on it at different stages has to review the whole record and then put a brief together and then submit that and do an investigation. It's a long process. So there's a trend moving towards not seeking the death penalty for that reason. Not only for the resource and financial burden, but also just dragging it out to your point. I can say that as someone who's been through it, not as a lawyer, but as someone who's been victimized when my brother was taken from us. I mean, I witnessed it. I went to Huntsville. I witnessed the execution. Went through that process. I've shared that with you guys before. And I watched them pass away, and I felt comfortable. I felt at peace knowing that he was in the Lord's hands. If he had repented, true repentance, biblical repentance, well, then I'll see him in heaven when I get there. But if not, then he's where the Lord believes he should be separated from him for eternity. So I know that it's something that I'm glad that the state saw it in our case, and there's no anger or revenge in my heart anymore like it used to be for years, but I do believe it was just.
Many cases I've read, people get the death sentence some years later. That sentence changes. What's the legal term?
Commutation.
So it's commuted now to serving life, perhaps with a parole possibility or with a
That
without
depends on your
possibility of
state's law. Like old capital life, like I said before, like in Mike's time, when my brother passed away, it was 40 years, and then you were eligible for parole. And that was the whole deal with the Kenneth Foster situation, why that on the Netflix show, I Am a Killer, our family story and Kenneth Foster's story is season 1, episode 2. And
Such a great show. That's so good.
You know, it was a good series. I was very reluctant to do it. I was DA at the time. They thought, oh, this guy's the DA. Look at him. He was arrested for selling drugs. He turned his life around. And now he's got the power to help the person who murdered his brother out and help him turn his life around. I mean, so I guess it was kind of semi-clickbait, I guess, when you think of the storyline. They read the statute wrong. These people were from England, which is what made me hesitant to do it. But I vetted them out. I really thought about it, prayed about it, was very hesitant because you don't have any creative control over something like that. They get to control what they put in there. The only thing they asked me about, if you look at this at the show, there was a scene when they showed the scene, and I remember them getting all the video and investigative stuff, evidence around the case. They said everything you described to us, Nico, was accurate. And I said, I know, it's in my head. I don't have to. I've never looked at all that. I haven't seen that stuff since the trial or since that night on August 15th, 1996. And I said, and he goes, it was all accurate. I go, how detailed do you want us to get? Because, we don't want to be gruesome, gory, and we don't want to offend your family. But they were asking me, did they want me to show Mike's head is up above his shoulder? And I said, I don't think my parents are going to see this. But, I would ask you not to show his head. Just because if my parents ever want to, not that they have, and they don't want to. And they didn't. So you'll see them from the scene. They scan Mike's body. They scan my parents' carport. They scan, the blood trail. And then they scan up his body from his legs to his rear to his torso. And then right before his shoulder, right at his shoulders, they cut it off.
How long between the August 15th, 1996 loss of your brother's life to that?
Was he executed?
Yes.
To the execution. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell you this. That's why I always joke with Davi that I owe her a honeymoon. So we got married in July for the first time, and then December the second time. One in Mexico and one here. I came back from our July wedding, and a week later, because that's why we couldn't go on a honeymoon, I went to Huntsville to witness the execution of my brother's murder.
Wow.
So Davi and I have been married 19 years. Mike passed away in 96. You can do the math. So it took a while. It took a while because of all the appeals, and then Kenneth Foster's deal is in that show where on the way up to Huntsville, Governor Perry commuted the sentence. Our Board of Pardons and Paroles through the Governor Perry, and I have a whole testimony behind that and my thoughts on these folks. But yeah, and then they told us to turn around while we were driving up there, and they didn't have the decency to tell us before that. I don't know why they waited to that moment to figure it out, but. Yeah, so I got a lot of opinions about this. So I would have sought the death penalty on this. It was such a heinous crime when you're talking about disfiguring someone's face. Look, some of the worst cases I've seen and dealt with are stabbing cases. They're worse than gunshot cases. It's brutal.
So personal.
And yet I think you're
It's
making the
personal
argument.
and it's vicious.
Hearing your story, because in Nico's case, it was 10 years, about a decade, which is long. But many
But
of
I
these
think
cases, they
it's
go more than that,
very
twice that, three
quick
times.
that happened
And
for him.
Bill Johnson, the prosecutor, and Ashley Jennings, they seem very concerned about that, not to drag this out, and so hence dropping the death penalty.
But they usually talk to the family about that first. That's why I'm saying.
And a bunch of on record, at least, the family has said, yeah, we agree.
That they wanted it done. Yeah.
Because
and I see that.
because they were concerned about that.
Yeah, I see that.
I have a personal question, and I always think about this personally. Like as a reporter, way back when, I got to go to 2 death penalty trials, and each one, like this one, like afterwards, when you see all of the evidence, like especially on this one, and how brutal the murders were, and his tracks before the murders happened, him listening to the police while they were doing the investigation, it makes me so sick. And I just can't imagine the families, as well as I can't imagine you in that courtroom listening to all of this. But I always wonder, do they just let the families talk to the defendant for the family to get it out? What is that all about?
Yeah, it's a victim impact statement. And so, yeah, it is. I mean,
I mean, it's so horrible. It's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, I didn't do it because they don't give a crap.
I
You know what
know.
So-
When I was watching that, Brian Koberger, zero.
And the sister of Katie Gonsalves, that went viral.
Amazing. Yes.
And it was pretty intense.
Well,
But
that's the tone to have, in my opinion. But everyone's different.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's different. I don't want. What I would never want an animal like that to have anything more on me and the family. Of course,
and
you
he was
our
so
family.
happy to hear them
Well,
cry.
look, this is pure evil. I've stared in the face of evil. People don't understand what true evil is.
Yeah.
True evil. I mean, we overuse that term, and that's evil. I mean, and that look, and Karen, look, that could have been some of the consideration. The DAs, the assistant DA, and the elected DA could have gone to the family and said, "Look, guys, and please hear my heart." I've had these conversations with people before. It's tough. I've been in the toughest conversations like this. There's some brutal pictures.
Oh.
And I do not recommend you seeing them. And I don't know if you want the public to see them at some point. I mean, they wouldn't have been broadcasted, but it's an open courtroom. And I mean, they're brutal.
As a reporter, I will never forget some of the pictures that I saw.
Yeah,
just on indictments.
You don't change. You can't take that off.
It never
so
goes
that could
away.
have been part of the discussion too. So it might not have been something bad that the victims had done and some evidence that was going to come out there. That could have been part.
Yeah.
But it could have just been
the brutality of it.
brutality. I mean, this figure in a face, 50 stabs. That's brutal. I'm
so
telling you.
that sister, her family, they did want the death penalty.
Yeah.
Just to give them some airtime here, because they said, "Man, this is a hard no. We absolutely want the death penalty." And they were pretty ticked off and felt that.
Did they share
justice was denied.
why the DA did not seek the death?
For the reasons the DA put out that statements that were this is going to drag out, and
that's not the DA's choice, in my opinion. I mean, this is one of those situations where you talk to the family members, and unless the family, I mean, I had one family come to me and say, "I don't want the death penalty. I don't want it for the victim," and it was such of a nature that I was considering saying no, because for the community's sake, you know, in the sense of this that it was such a shock to the conscience when you're talking about, you know, choking a baby and with a ligature and eyeballs popping out, or a girl being raped and then 14-year-old and then sodomized and then cut from her anus to her vagina open. I mean, and just left under a bridge. I mean, that kind of stuff. He's like, no, this guy's gonna go to hell on the county dime. That's just the bottom line.
But where's the line, though? You got four victims families. Let's say 3 don't want, 1 does. You're going to defer in favor of the one that does.
I mean, that's going to be a DA. Every elected has
because
to do what they're
I
going to
think
do.
that's kind of the
He probably
sort of
went.
the mix
No,
that
he
they were
went
looking-
sheer numbers. He went sheer numbers and said 3 don't want it, or for whatever their reasons were. And look, I can see that. Do you want your loved one seen to the public like that? Now this guy is going to die. Look, this guy may not even make it. I mean, they're going to have to segregate him, keep him separated.
I know, that's another thing that kind of
because-
makes me mad, though, that he gets to be out of his cage for 1 hour a day, and when he's out, he's sitting at a desk with, you know, handcuffed to the desk. I get it, but
I don't know, Karen. I'd say maybe 6 months from now, you might be hearing something different.
like he accidentally falls on a toilet lid.
No, I mean, look,
head,
if you're convicted of a sexual assault of children, I mean, man, you're going to have a rough go in prison. You really are. It's going to be, and some guys they have life sentences too, or they're just roughnecks and they want to make a name for themselves or making their bones, and they see something, such a high profile case and the heinousness of it, and then him carving up a woman, that doesn't fly in prison. Yeah. And so, look, I mean, they're going to have to protect him from the inmates. I mean, you've heard it before where people, Dahmer, I mean, people get smashed. I mean, and dying in prison is different. You get shanked. You get a tuna can and a sock.
After you get married.
You know?
Right.
Who got married?
No, I said after they get married to their boyfriend.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Conjugal visits.
Yes.
I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, we ain't sure.
Yeah, right, Nico.
What was that one saying? I mean, I know this is gross, but when the one girl, I guess it was the sister or somebody, she's like, you got all A's in high school, but now that you're going to prison, you're going to get big D's. And I was like, oh, wow.
Karen.
Well, I was just talking about grades.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
Grades.
Wow, Karen.
She's talking about grades.
She performs nightly there
I
at 7
am-
o'clock. Come early.
I am
Buy
right
your
up
tickets
there.
soon.
Academic.
Man,
look
like
what time
Andrew
it is.
Dice Clay.
We have to take a break.
Are you Karen Dice
Change
Clay?
the subject.
We are changing the subject because we have got 2 more subjects to talk about. Just think about it. Stew on that. was so happy for that girl when she said that. Okay, this is Sidebar. You've got to get online right now, sidebartv.com. We're going to take a break, but we will be right back with more. Thank you so much for joining Sidebar. We really appreciate it when you also go online. We love comments. We love anything that you want to throw in, even if it's a topic for the following week. Please feel free to do so. So we finished with Koberger. Now we have to go to Obama. And it's so funny because everybody's like, well, the people that I talk to, they're like, I hope this isn't another unleash the, what was it?
Kraken?
The Kraken situation.
What's her name? Sidney Powell?
I know. And I was thinking to myself,
Is that her name?
they had proof of this. They had proof of the
Every
Jeffrey
time she
Epstein
said
file.
Kraken, I wanted her to shut her crack.
I know.
I remember thinking to myself, what are you overpromising for? It's like,
I know.
shut up,
I know. But doesn't
please.
that make you think of this? Are they overpromising? They're saying, we have this guy on treason, counts of treason. It's Obama. They were just like joking around when Michelle wasn't at that funeral just recently.
I think you're going to be hard pressed to find that analogy. This is an actual intelligence community assessment from 2017.
Okay.
And
16, isn't it?
Yes.
2017
Was the
but it
official,
came
right?
from-
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
The report stated 2017, but yes, the alleged data, which is in question, was produced in the heart of 2016. So, and then there was a what do they call it? A House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence that had done its own review of it. And so there's been, and kudos to Tulsi, she's been largely silent, and she's been busy.
Yeah. Now we know she has been busy.
And so this has been. And I think it's true. We've had people from Congress saying, look, I mean, while this is substantial in terms of the breadth of its allegations and the eventuality of the conclusions of this, which could be, I mean, intense to say the least, it's something that we all kind of knew. I mean, nobody's, totally surprised by this. But it is, have you read it? Because I mean, it is. It's incredible to me.
Tell us,
No,
George.
it's incredible to me. 15 reports, ultimately, 15 reports from CIA reports weighed in by the FBI. Comey has his hands in it. Clapper has his hands in it. John Brennan from the CIA has hands in it. And so, Obama has convened these individuals around this out of concern, right? Out of concern. So the issue here is that there's 15 sub-reports with questionable, quote unquote, evidence. 12 of them were unremarkable. The foundational evidence, the fragments, the statements that made it into the assessment report to make it look like that Putin had an affinity towards Trump winning in some way, that he preferred Trump's win. Those kinds of things came out of 3 of those 15 reports. And then when they investigated those, they found that the actual opposite was the case. But in fact, that was blown off, and that Brennan really sort of led the movement into putting these into the official intelligence community assessment report.
So for context,
to spin
for people,
a narrative.
There was an investigation. There was some reporting in September of 16, and in August of 16, September of 16, and then December 7th, I believe, of 16, where they were saying, I mean, and I'm just going to generalize this. No Russian involvement. No, we don't believe. There might have been some meddling, but not involvement. Nothing substantial for sure. Nor did they have the opportunity or the wherewithal to do it. And then December 9th, they were giving Obama some regular briefing, and then everything changed. That's why the December 9th, I heard someone say, "Well, go down in infamy," like what they said about December 7th in the past. But that's where allegedly President Obama gives these directives to John Brennan and all these hacks to do what they did, and then that report is developed from that directive from December 9th of 16 to that January of 2017 report that came out, and that's kind of the whole crux of all this. And look, there's a lot of people that have looked at this because it's been declassified, right? She released it.
She did,
and I mean, serious people that said this is legit. I mean, this is a legitimate deal, bigger than Watergate, bigger than all this other stuff. It's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal, and that's I think the question for me lies down to, we can go over the details and how guilty someone is or whatever. It's like, okay, what do we do about it? I mean, that to me where it boils down to. What do we do?
Yes.
As an administration, as a nation, what should we demand as the citizenry? I mean, do we want this perpetual, every president gets indicted and charged? Because we'll find something. The next administration will find something on Trump again, and or so, unless J.D. Vance wins or whomever. I mean, so then you only get a reprieve from your party. Is that the new normal? And I said that back then. Remember, Karen?
I said, do, but I still want him in jail.
I don't want that. I want justice. I want accountability.
I want justice, but treason is treason, isn't it?
But treason's a big word. I mean, so I'm not. I haven't seen the evidence myself, and I guess you know me, I'm going to pause and I'm going to wait. I guess the thing is, let's assume a couple of things. Let's assume that the evidence is there. I understand it seems to be strong. A lot of people, but until I see it myself, until I analyze it myself, I'm just going to pause. I just want to wait for a second. And so let's assume it's there. So what do we do? Do we indict Obama? Do you indict all these other people? I think people need to be held accountable. Do you bring everything out for sure? Do you tarnish his legacy? Do you let history tarnish Obama's legacy by all this coming to light and really vetting it out? Now, there's people that lied to courts. There's people that lied to get the FISA, warrants. There's people that lied to Congress. That's not Obama, obviously. He's, the ringmaster is allegedly by what Tulsi, I think is what she's saying. I mean, from Brenner, whatever his name is, to Mueller, to all these other people that have lied under oath, I think they should be held accountable. You can't go after Trump's people. Again, I put presidents in a different category, but I mean, and then not go after people that have clearly violated the law. I think there needs to be accountability.
If you're asking me, I don't think you're going to see a Clinton being held accountable.
I agree with that.
I'm cynical about that.
I agree.
I'm sorry to be cynical, but it's true.
I agree with that.
I don't think Obama's going to be held accountable.
I agree with
if anything,
that too.
Ironically, because of recent Supreme Court rulings,
Mm-hmm.
that was Obama operating within the outer perimeter of his
That's right.
I mean, this outer perimeter could mean anything. He could say he was very concerned. He was concerned about collusion. Could this be? I mean, at that time, Trump hadn't been a president yet. I mean, he was just running for office.
Because he just make sure and all this other.
The
I don't
idea
know
of
what the
plausible
notes say.
deniability, right? And so I'm very skeptical. I do think that he should be compelled. I do think that he should testify. What did you know? When did you know it?
Yeah.
That's legit.
Yep.
Totally legit. Whether he's guilty of anything more than that, I'm really skeptical that's going to happen for the same reasons that I would be skeptical if it was Trump, even with all of the lawfare. But I mean, the likelihood that this all mysteriously happened without Obama knowing anything, I think that's way outside the realm of possibility.
Well, I understand there's evidence that he directed it. I mean, there's letters, there's notes, there's
well, that's correct.
There was
because
pushback to Brennan. Is it Brennan or Brenner?
It's Brennan. Brennan.
Okay, Brennan. I thought so. So John Brennan. So I heard that there was one of his underlings pushed back at him, and then he just kind of no pun intended, trumped him. And went forward anyway, right?
Based on too many people are coming forward too to say yes, this did happen.
Yeah. Well, it was pieced together from 15 CIA reports, and only 3 were remarkable. And you really had to sort of copy and paste to string together a narrative that in the end was really ambiguous. And they literally took things out of context. I pulled one. This was one of the 3 main pieces of evidence that was used to build sort of a house of cards. And I'm going to quote, Putin had made this decision to leak DNC emails after he had come to believe that the Democratic nominee had better odds of winning the U.S. presidential election, and that Trump, whose victory Putin was counting on, most likely would not be able to pull off a convincing victory. These are literally saying the exact opposite things in the same sentence.
Yeah, right.
But because whose victory Putin was counting on was in there, that was used to sow enough doubt to pursue additional investigation. So, and there are others like this, where you're literally in the same paragraph, you have totally contradictory statements. And in fact, and this is why Nico's right, and it's more than one, by the way, there was a lot of sort of counter narrative that, hey man, this doesn't pass muster. We can't go forward. It's an embarrassment. There's a lot of that dialogue. And at the end of the day, Brennan handpicked 5 analysts out of a collage of them that ultimately wrote the final ICA that became basically the basis for the indindictment.
I still want to know when those 51. I want to know when those 51 intelligence officers are going to be held accountable. I mean, seriously. I mean, this is I think a lot of the frustration people have, and why the Epstein thing. And I know what's coming up next is such an issue for people. I do. You know, when are people going to be held accountable? When is that first layer of the deep state, quote unquote, going to be removed or at least exposed, and someone held it, because it'll never change. I mean, nothing will ever change if we don't gut out the roots of this cancer, of this fungus in our government, because this is not what our founding fathers designed.
Not at all.
This is not part of our foundation to this country. It's not anywhere in the Constitution, Declaration. It's not in their ideas. They didn't think about this. They didn't want an administrative state. They didn't want a secret government. They didn't want a 4th branch of the government. They wanted 3 branches, balance it out, understanding the underlying principles of this country, and then we all pursue freedom. And things like that, and free speech, and all the things that guarantee freedom. So I don't think, I agree with you, George. I don't think Clinton is going to be held accountable. I don't think Obama is. But I think that what you do strategically is you expose it all. You bring everything to the forefront, and you let history bring justice. History will bring justice by tarnishing this, which I think this whole allure to Obama has been lifted. I mean, he's just kind of a dude with an opinion now. I mean, I think that whole facade around him is gone, or at least it's lessened for sure, even in his party.
But this country was dragged through absolute hell.
I agree.
I mean,
what would we have been Trump, like without Trump?
But it continued
coming in and doing
of course,
that.
I mean, you have investigations, just poorly footed on BS evidence, ambiguous.
I think they should be held accountable.
At the exclusion of evidence to exonerate Trump in any way, shape, manner, or form. And then it goes into his administration. You have one impeachment of the man, and then another impeachment of the man, right? And 4, have we forgotten the Mueller report, for goodness sakes?
The raid at Mar-a-Lago.
Over $40 million spent on the taxpayer dime. And then you have Mueller. I'll never forget you and I talking about it. Mueller comes before Congress, and he literally had no idea what was in his own report. None. And he's like leafing through, and he's got assistants, and they're sort of pointing him, and he's pulling his glasses, and he's trying to read. And he has no idea. This man did not write the report. He had no idea what was inside that report. It just continues throughout the Trump administration. Constant obstruction. And then you have tension between Trump and his own Congress, his agenda sabotaged. It's a miracle that he was able to accomplish what he was. And then it continued beyond that. They used that narrative to continue to sow doubt during his campaign. Again. So this is the height of injustice, Nico. It can't just be dropped. And so this
I
ties
agree.
into the Epstein,
Right.
because now we're on the other side.
Okay.
It ties into the Epstein issue very well.
But I think to bookend this thing, I mean, I do believe people should be held accountable.
Accountability in government.
I think Brennan, I think Comer, I think these people, Clapper, anyone that lied to a court, I mean, I take that so seriously. If we allow people to lie to a court to uproot someone's life and to violate their constitutional rights and to subject themselves to prosecutorial misconduct and to potentially imprison people based off lies, those people should be held accountable. So I'm fine with that. Not that I'm not fine with Obama. I just think it's a slippery slope. We have to be very careful.
Okay, we are going to take a break right now. We have one more segment. You've got to get online, sidebartv.com. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for always being here on Saturday. This is Sidebar. Remember, go to sidebartv.com, and that's where you can join us on the after show, which is coming up in just about 15 minutes. Okay, so you said, George, okay, here we are with all of these indictments of the Trump administration. Oh, and Obama did this. But how did you wrap it up with Epstein? That one is still abstract in my mind.
No, I mean, it's night and day in a sense. But the only way in which the two are exactly the same is because I think people, to your point, Nico, people want accountability from their elected officials. They use the word credibility, and so, I mean, just as Trump has been a victim here of the Russia collusion hoax, and again, I mean, just what the country was dragged through, and now for John Brennan to sit there and smug, go on networks and act like he's the victim. I mean, this is the height of irony and hypocrisy. And it's obvious from these documents that he was clearly at the center of this thing. And I don't know if he's still a card-carrying member of the Communist Party, but at one point,
he voted for a communist.
The guy was a proud communist in the 1970s.
He voted for a communist.
And we talk about communism here on this show often. In fact, I will say, if you ever want to hear about how communism has infiltrated American politics, listen to Sidebar, because we're just not getting enough of that anywhere else. And I think that's a huge disservice from the media to the American voter. But I mean, John Brennan, how does a guy who is a proud communist and has been, how does he end up as director of CIA? How does that even happen? Only under Obama. And we could spend an entire show on this whole thing about Obama. Ever since 2008, this country has been at its own throat with political division, racial animosity, political weaponization of government, the criminalization of political differences, as Alan Dershowitz calls it. I mean, you can clearly see it.
But the chaos is planned. I mean, it's obvious. The chaos is planned.
Right. To your point earlier, this is why I was so frustrated with the Epstein deal, because I really want to, in an attempt to want to advise, because I support President Trump, I'll still disagree with him if he does something wrong, and I think I have a history of criticizing him when it was appropriate. But because on stuff like this, even though the evidence is going to be released and seen, there's still a credibility issue. It's going to take credibility and trust to listen, to follow this. And that's why if people are doubting this administration or this DOJ or this anything with this government because of credibility, because of the Epstein deal, it's like, oh, now all of a sudden you want to release everything, but you don't want to release everything before? Why do you want to release everything about this? Yeah. You don't want to release everything about that. I mean, if that thing's over and nothing happened, something did happen here, then you should really want to release that one, because nothing happened over there. This one, something did happen and you're releasing it. Why wouldn't you release the other stuff? I get it. I mean, that's legit. That is legit. And you have to think about this. You know, the fact that people are asking why is why it's still an issue. Because people are asking, why isn't it being released on Epstein? is why it's still an issue. You nix all of that by just releasing it, being transparent. Let the chips fall where they may. Yes, you're not trying to hurt anybody, but you're definitely hurting your own chances. If I was advising President Trump, I get it. It's admirable if you're trying to protect somebody else, but you got to look at your own agenda and you got to protect the American people. And if any credibility you lose, and you know that you have a lot of people that fighting you and resisting you, it hurts what you're trying to accomplish. Because think about this, and this is not the show for this week, but there are some incredible things President Trump is doing. One of them that I can't believe we're not talking about is the economy. I mean, and other things going on. I mean, things he's accomplished between other countries and what's happening in the market, just different things. And no one is even talking about that much at all. I mean, you'll get some shows and some people mentioning it, but it's
not sexy enough.
Well, it's not sexy, number one. I mean, look, we know more. Check this out. I sent this meme out, I think, to Salo and George in the group. Karen, I don't know if I sent it to you or not. We know about this. We know more about that schmuck CEO with his HR director.
You're so
than
right.
we do about the kid that tried to shoot and kill and murder President Trump.
You're absolutely right.
Why don't we know everything about this little punk?
Yeah.
Do you know anything about him, George? And you're the brainiac.
Not enough.
No.
Well,
not enough.
You know more than everybody else
with
probably,
you.
but you still don't know crap. You would fail a test on this guy's life.
No, I don't. I don't know anything that I didn't know 6 months ago.
Well, that's
not
my
your point.
Whatever the point is, is we don't know anything about him. We know everything about that CEO or former CEO and that HR director. And I don't give. I could care less about that. When that came up, I told my wife, I go, Chula, who gives an it about these people? Well, I mean, other than I'm heartbroken that 2 families are destroyed. That's what I cared about. I could give a crap about anything else. But the fact that it literally made every news channel, I mean, it was crazy to me. I just didn't understand it. That's the intangible, Salo, about how things go viral that we talk about all the time. But then we don't know anything about the Butler assassination attempt. Nothing yet. And Trump's been in office 6 months. So, I mean, look, this is the reality we have to.
I got to come back. And you and I talked on the phone, and we were getting pretty intense. I thought, I wish I could press record on this.
Well, you should have.
Because.
Were we disagreeing?
No, I think I think the issue is that should the Epstein issue matter? Now it's my view that it shouldn't matter as much as it matters.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't matter as much as it matters. And I'm irritated. I'm beyond irritated. And I know Nico. He's just trying to get to the truth. So when he sends a text, as much as I love this guy, a part of me just like gets bristled by it because I'm like, ugh, another Epstein text, please. And it's like, and then he and I were texting at the exact same time. It's hilarious because he hit send and it was about Epstein, and I hit send about the $550 billion Japanese trade deal with Trump.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, but it won't matter. That's the point. It won't matter. This was a significant accomplishment this week. Truly, it was in terms of the breadth of the deal and the significance of the deal, just in terms of dollars and cents. For goodness sakes, it completely irrelevant this week because Epstein. That was my point. Because Epstein.
Well, that's my point. Why
and Colbert.
And
then Nico's like, because I wrote because Epstein at the end of my text, and Nico's like, was that a dig? No, it's not at you. It's just the whole.
No, I didn't take it as
at the whole system.
Yeah, I mean,
because that's where we are right
you
now.
being dismissive of it, and I don't think anybody cares as much about Epstein, at least the supporters of Trump, than they care more about wanting President Trump and his administration to stay credible. I mean, because open cabinet meetings. How many interviews has he done? The most transparent president you're going to find. I mean, just by impromptu interviews, press conferences. He goes on adverse interviews with people. He takes questions from people, not just the ones that are given to him and select people. He'll take questions from whomever and then give it back to them as much as they give it. So I mean, but it frustrates me as someone who voted for Trump and supports President Trump when I get criticism from people, and look, it's legitimate criticism. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, you don't just say, oh, look at this, it's legitimate criticism, so screw everything he's done. Well, now you're trying to look for something. No, I call BS on that. But it's frustrating for people. I want him to get the credit he deserves. Maybe that's part of maybe his frustration, people have theorized that, why aren't you talking about all the other good crap I'm doing? And you know how much Trump loves that. And then this is taken away from it. Screw Epstein.
I mean, I have so much to say. We just don't have time. You and I could fill another 3-hour show on all those accomplishments, and it seems like you got a deer in headlights media, and people who it's about Epstein right now. And I think the issue, and I got to put this back on Trump. Trump ran on this. That's the problem.
Well, he didn't. His team did.
Well, he did, but Trump also ran on transparency. Remember the MLK files?
Yeah.
And the JFK files?
Yeah.
And then when it was a nothing burger because he released them at the end of the day. What we knew was already available in the public domain. In other words, what was released was largely available in public domain. So MAGA was disappointed about that. That's largely what happened with those. Remember the binders in February? And he released binders to his media influencers. And then they went home. They did their little, they got their little initial 5, 10, 15 minutes of fame. And then they went home. This is volume 1. And they found, wait a minute, a lot of this stuff we already know. Yeah. It's already available in the public domain. So at the end of the day, they didn't know anything more about Epstein than they knew before. And I just kept coming back to this. When you're not in office and you make lofty promises, and if we felt, I think Trump and his campaign and MAGA felt empowered to do that and almost justified to do that because we know there had been corruption. We know there had been obfuscation under Biden. We know they lied repeatedly. You name it, pick a topic. I mean, whether it was COVID, they lied. Mass vaccination policy, they lied. The border, they lied. Alejandro Mayorkas, Department of Homeland Security Secretary, was going before show after show after show and saying that there was no border problem.
The border is secure.
You got cameras from multiple networks showing droves of people coming across the border. If that's not a problem, what's a problem, Secretary Mayorkas? But the administration took that tack with virtually everything. So MAGA, there was an unbelievable alignment about bringing accountability and transparency to government. Therefore, Trump ran on that.
That's right.
He had his pulse on it. People knew they cared about that. And it wasn't just Epstein. It was just in general. And so I think there's a fear right now. And I think people are afraid. And I'm excluding there's wingnuts. I consider Carlson and Bannon borderline wingnutville. But they've they've brilliantly tapped into a legitimate fear that, in fact, oh my goodness, I thought Trump was convicted about this issue about corruption in government. And now he seems to be backpedaling. He's doing really confusing things and contradictory things. Now he's saying some of my past supporters. Wait, hold up. I mean, you created us. You're the one that told us our suspicions were legitimate. And now you're asking me why I'm asking the question? Now you're calling me an idiot. It's like, what's going on with Trump? Could he be, in fact, implicated in all this? Now, do I think he's implicated? I don't. The more I think about that text that you sent me, Nico, showing Glenn Beck, I thought the more I like it.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, come on, Glenn.
Glenn does an analysis, and he does a 5 theories of why this is happening the way it is. And the 5th one, you can go over all of them. I mean, it's on YouTube. I sent it to George.
Nothing about the first 4 was really new after we talked, but it's the 5th one that, and Nico uses the word chain of custody. We don't really know what that chain of custody was to these alleged files. We don't know what they were. And so remember, Democrats have a sudden interest in this because of the political damage to Trump that they anticipate. Talk about being resuscitated from literally flatlining the Democrat Party. They're actually finding their second wind, astonishingly,
on Epstein
as a result of Epstein.
Yeah, that's why it frustrated me. Exactly.
It's very frustrating. And now if you go back and you look at why, it's like, could it be that during the Biden administration, could it be that there was information entered into these so-called files, the custody of which no one really knows, to implicate Trump? And now Trump knows that it's not legitimate. So during the campaign, he's like, I'm going to release it all. And now as Bondi starts going through it, says, Mr. President, you're showing up. You're showing up in a couple of these places, which Trump, by the way, has denied. And so now it's wait a minute.
I mean, it depends how he shows up. I mean, like I said last time, I mean, I've taken pictures and have videos at functions with people that ended up getting in trouble, and I had nothing to do with what they did, nor did I have any knowledge of what they were doing, because people put on a front and a show for you. And so you don't know what. And matter of fact, he got sideways with Epstein and kicked him out of his. I know. Out of his club
years ago. That's right, because of questionable activity at Mar-a-Lago, and so just to clarify, Trump does show up in the flight log, the Lolita Express. That was the name of Epstein's plane. He does show up in the flight log, but there's nothing in there that implicates them. Alan Dershowitz, former attorney for Epstein, has come out and said there's nothing that implicates Trump. Trump's not in these quote unquote files. And he said there's absolutely no list. There's no list there. So why did Pam Bondi say, what did she say? I don't know why Pam Bondi said she was sitting on the list.
I don't know either. But
she should explain that.
More than one person has said there's no list per se. But look, many times, like Nixon with Watergate, it's not about the crime, it's about the cover-up. I mean, Nixon didn't direct anyone to do anything when you look at the Watergate scandal, but the cover-up was what got him. It wasn't the actual doing of the allegations or the crime with the DNC and the burglary of the Watergate Hotel. But all that to say, look, we're at the end of the show, guys. Join us for the after show. We're going to stay on for another 20, 30 minutes or so, maybe however long the conversation takes us. Thank you for joining us. Please share these share this with people, those who are watching online, with someone you might think might enjoy it. And thank you for tuning in every weekend. Really appreciate it. Have a very blessed weekend to those that are going to tune off, and those that are going to join us, hang on for a little while. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Okay, here we go, the after show. And I'm not going to say that D word again. Come
Now
on.
you can say it.
No, I don't want to say it.
You can
I don't
live.
want to say it. I was just like, I was so mad at that dude for just sitting there. That Koberger is just a creep and a monster. But I was thinking, wouldn't it be great to see Fauci in jail with him? You know what? I keep on thinking.
You're joking, but you're not joking.
I know.
Because I think people are legitimately expecting legit injustices to be held accountable here. I mean, where are the indictments? Where are the investigations? Where are the criminal referrals? I mean, FBI's been new director 6 months. Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security. I mean, all of the Department of Justice subdepartments. Where this just doesn't seem any more serious than the previous administration. There's a lot of talking. Republicans are great at talking, by the way. We're really good at talking. And so I think MAG is exhausted. They want to see some reckoning. And so
that's why the Epstein thing is so irritating.
And we can't, and you don't want to just whip up some investigation just to feed MAGA.
No.
Because it's about justice. But there ought to be a mechanism for communicating along the way. There ought to be a mechanism for saying,
microphone.
Here's what we're, exactly. And why aren't we doing that? Why isn't this sort of midpoint status reporting from Kash Patel, for instance, or Pam Bondi? There ought to be, I mean, for goodness sakes, we had a bullshit coronavirus task force every single day.
You're
over
so right.
nonsense.
You're so right.
90% of the stuff they spewed was complete bullshit. The amount of money and time, it was a big show. We could do that. But on this and things like it, truly all the things they said that we're going to release, all this kind of stuff ought to be reported and communicated. It's crickets. It's crickets. It's the influencers that are driving the narrative. That's what irritates me.
So I have been so checked out. You said something about Mike Johnson and the whole Epstein case and trying to like shake this from MAGA or Trump. But I mean, what is behind that?
No, I think Mike Johnson just announced that he was calling a recess early, and he's doing that because he doesn't see the point of belaboring the Epstein issue, and he wants to give Trump the breathing room that Trump really has asked for. He's asked, and I want you to weigh in on this grand jury thing because I want people to understand. A lot of people think it's bullshit, and it's not bullshit. As Dershowitz says, there's victims named, there's perpetrators, and there's victims who became perpetrators. I think is the way he said it. And so I think that's the other argument. One argument is we're afraid that Trump could actually be implicated and that he's covering something up. I don't think that's believable.
I don't think
that's believable to most people. But then the other argument is,
I just don't think that's probable. Is it possible? Sure. Is it probable? No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the other issue is, and Trump has said, look, I wish to be cautious. I wish to be cautious because I'm concerned that there's been some manipulation here. And you've got people that are being implicated unfairly under questionable circumstances. And some of this is really, really questionable. And so it is irresponsible for us to just sort of release that information out there. And so that sounds legitimate to me. But it's absent an explanation. Trump hasn't really come out and said that. Neither has Bondi. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. Legitimate concern, but that hasn't been communicated. So Johnson is saying, look, can we give them the breathing room? And the federal judge has actually said no, he's not going to authorize the release.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to.
You said it wasn't surprising.
Yeah.
So now what? I mean, outside of the grand jury,
But the grand juries are supposed to be secret.
I know. That's what I don't understand.
That's why I knew it wasn't going to release. There was no extraordinary circumstance to justify that, in my humble opinion.
So what else is there?
Well, there's just the evidence. I mean, there's no case.
Well, and why would they
Release
question
the evidence.
Ghislaine Maxwell for 6 hours?
So Dershowitz has said there's not a list at all. There is no list. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I've heard more than one person say that. It's not like there was a little black book like in the old days when you lend money and you're loan shark,
Right.
And you had a list of people that owed you money or drug money or whatever it is. You had a little list, and Fulano owes me $40 and Karen owes me
Right.
whatever, and it's that there's not no one's going to do a list like that. There's just information about people. Not this is my if Epstein had a list and a practical list, he didn't say, here's my client list for pedophilia.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's going to do that.
Exactly.
stuff.
So, I mean, I'm talking serious. This is a serious question.
Yeah.
So when people are up in arms about this and it's starting, and the polls are going either way. That's why I haven't really talked about them. I think it's just way too much dust right now, way too much hearsay. And then you have the Wall Street Journal with that crazy article. Trump is suing the Wall Street Journal, legitimately so.
About his involvement?
Yeah, I mean, saying that Trump wrote a note to
Happy
Epstein,
birthday letter.
and it was some figure of a naked woman.
Yeah.
And Trump's like, what? And he completely denied. He said Murdoch's people called him. And yes, by the way, Rupert Murdoch and his organization, same people who own Fox News. So you can understand why there's no love lost to some extent as the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal has been just an exemplar newspaper. Can I still say newspaper? Media source for decades. And over the years, I mean, the Trump derangement syndrome has gotten into the lifeblood. I mean, you can see the quality of the reporting has just been really. I'm shocked at this report. I subscribe to Wall Street Journal. I found myself saying, why am I paying off Wall Street Journal? They provided no sources. They acknowledged that it was hearsay. Scott Jennings actually got into an argument on CNN over this to say, why should Trump rush out? Because that was the argument that was being made. Trump should rush out and speak to this. And Jennings said, why? They specifically said in the article itself, that it was hearsay, that they didn't know. And yet Trump's saying, hey, this is libelous. So he sued them. I think there's a pretty good chance he'll win. We'll see. It's with an Obama judge. I can't believe we have to qualify judges with Obama. That's a shame. So where does this go? I mean, so what are people wanting? When you say evidence, so no list, can't release a grand jury testament. What else is there? And it's an honest question. What is it that people want?
Well, they want the videos. I mean, they're talking about videos. Everything was videotaped. There was potential blackmail situations.
On his island.
Yeah. They want flight logs. We know some of that stuff, right?
We have the flight logs.
Okay.
We know Trump was on some of the flight logs.
But then we want to match what I would do if I was investigating this. I would match the date of the flights to the video dates of those flights when they got to the island. I want to match them together. If he recorded everything all the time, then I would say, okay, January 1st of whatever year, January 1st flight log, and all these people were on there. Okay, where's the video from January 1st when these people arrived?
If there was a teenage girl that had been with Trump, that girl would have been already in the news and
now the counter argument. I'm just going to tell you the counter argument that is, and I still don't think it's a legitimate argument. Is the reason why if there was evidence on Trump is because there's also evidence on Clinton and other people, and they had to do this one for one. Man, Trump's covered because I got to cover my guys' asses better, But here's the deal: you don't think that they would have selectively released only Trump?
Exactly.
Of course. I mean, they manipulate everything. Now, what I wish Trump would have done, and maybe someone just didn't think about it, is start talking about this issue on the campaign trail. I'm going to release what they have. My concern is they've had this file for 3 years.
Why haven't they? Yeah.
Number one, why no one's calling for the release? Democrats are not calling for the release. No one's releasing it. No one's getting prosecuted. I'm going to release it, but my concern is, and I'm going to look for this, guys, is you manipulating the files. Because if I was on those files, you'd think you'd see it right now.
Now, people listening to Nico are probably thinking, well, how the hell would he even say that? And the reality is, Trump should anticipate that.
That's what I'm saying.
Because that's what had been happening to him over and over and over again. This is how these guys behave. They're effing communists. This is what they do.
You're asking to release data that has not been in your hands for years and that they haven't acted on.
Right.
I mean, it would not take some genius. It would just take someone with some common sense and someone that understands the dynamics in these situations to say, wait a minute, everyone's like, shaking the rails and clanging our fists and asking for this to be released. Are we sure we want it released? It's in their hands. We have no idea. Talk about chain of custody issues. You have no idea what's been done to this thing. How do we know it's authentic and when it was placed into it? And especially with today's ways to manipulate things.
I mean, how much more evidence was manipulated to frame Trump? Did he need any more evidence that these guys would stop at nothing?
I mean, just look at the Russian hoax. I mean,
exactly.
These sons of bitches made up a story of him going to some hotel in Russia and taking a piss on chicks. Am I right or wrong?
Well, this is part of the Oppo research. This is the Steele dossier.
But that's what but I'm saying. This is the kind of stuff they did.
Yeah.
So you don't think that they could? I mean, that's got to be in your. This is who you're dealing with, Saulo. You're dealing with people that would make. I mean, and you know why they did it? Let me tell you why. Because the more sensational and crazy the story is, people think, who would make that up? Of course, that's true.
And there's just enough element of truth. This is how these guys do it. They're propagandists at heart.
What's
They
the
know
element
what
of truth about that?
Well, what I'm saying is that it was the Steele dossier comes from Christopher Steele, who's a former British intelligence official, and he worked for Fusion GPS. Okay, so there's that. Oh my gosh, a British intelligence official. This guy must be the bomb, right? Well, he worked for Fusion GPS, a research firm that was hired by the Clinton campaign to dredge up Oppo research. And some of this stuff's just crazy. And Comey and Clapper and Brennan all sat there and said, yeah, this is crazy, but man, this is sure is useful. Here's what Brennan said. Brennan said, doesn't it have a ring of truth to it? That's all you need. You just need to plant a seed of doubt. The truth be damned. This, to Nico's point, this is recurring. This is how they play. Trump should have known that. But here's the problem. Trump skipped to the end and he says, this is a Democrat hoax. And people are like, wait a minute, I'm not following.
Where'd that come from?
Where did that come from?
You
And I remember saying to Nico, I said, I think what he means is they're using it to spin a hoax. Fair enough. But that the files themselves are a Democrat hoax. And now as time goes on and after listening to Glenn Beck, I thought, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking that this was kind of like the ICA. It was under a lockbox. And then, Gabbard finally got her hands on it. But that's not so. Who knows where the hell this has been? And so if that's what Beck is saying, then it makes sense for him to call it a Democrat hoax, because now it's become a political weapon because it's been tainted. You've got truth mixed with bullshit, which is what they specialize in, and then it could be weaponized against Trump. And Trump's probably thinking, how the hell am I going to get up there and explain all this shit? So, let's just keep winning on the economy.
Well, and it made me think maybe Obama wasn't born in the United States. Everything that Trump said, he keeps on coming true, but nobody listens to him because he keeps on going to the end of the story.
Where's Elon Musk been, by the way?
He's come up with the America.
Getting compliments from Trump lately. Trump saying, look.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Trump threw him a bone and said, look, man, I want him to thrive. I want his companies to thrive. And it's been largely radio silence after Musk was throwing some Epstein bombs. But, Nico, this is almost a perfect political weapon at this point. It's like you can't go back. The toothpaste is out of the tube. So, I mean, other than
this is why gosh, when I talk to people and you just think yourself, this is why Elon Musk's accusation about Trump being on that Epstein list, it was so damning, because then now you act like this.
Oh, I know.
And it's like to someone doubting, you're like, well, maybe Elon Musk was right, And then and you think to yourself, well, where were you Democrats a long time ago? No one was yelling to get these things released, because everyone was afraid that Clinton was on there, because we knew he was on the logs, and all the other Democrats and movie stars that have been on that thing. And yeah, maybe there are Republicans on there. Who cares? Let the chips fall where they fall. Exactly. That's what I wish Trump would just say. Look, and the problem is, let's say that they release everything. You don't think that someone's going to think that they manipulated it now? That's the problem.
That's so true.
You plant seeds of doubt when you lose credibility. And that's why I tell people, as a trial lawyer, too many lawyers try to be liked. I want to be credible. I want a jury to think I'm credible.
I love
now,
it.
If they think you're credible, they're going to lean more towards liking you, and likability matters. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it doesn't. But credibility is more important than likability, because trial lawyers try too hard to be liked, and it comes across disingenuous. And then guess what? They lose credibility in the pursuit of likability. And so to me, it's all about credibility, without ignoring, likability. But go ahead, George. I'm sorry.
Look, it's a polling issue. It's out there. It's no longer an anomaly. It's out there, and it can be turned into a victory or it could turn a substantial loss. Reuters has polled something like 69% of Americans consider it as politically significant, and they're questioning the narrative from the government. That's
70-30 issue?
Yeah, brother. I mean, at least per Reuters. And then there's Rasmussen. And so Mark Mitchell, who,
But how does this not affect the midterms then? When you said it's not going to affect, and I said, I'm telling you it's going to eventually. When you say something like that, looking at numbers, 70% of people say this is significant. How is that going to affect
Why
the
is
midterm?
this more significant than the auto pen?
I'm saying it could. I'm saying it could. What I'm not seeing is I mean, I'm not seeing definitive evidence that it will. And the reality, and you know this better than anybody else. I mean, technically, it's a lifetime to the midterms. In a sense, it isn't. But I mean, there's plenty of opportunity to course correct on this. And I do believe ultimately it's the economy stupid, to come back to a Clinton maxim. I do believe that. And ultimately, we've been saying it here, sharing economic news, because this does affect every year. At the end of the day, I would ask people, and I get it, I don't want to minimize the credibility issue. You can't have a government that you don't trust. But at the end of the day, Trump doesn't do corruption. We know that. Remember, the Democrats who are now hanging on to this because it's a life raft for them, didn't give two shits about the Epstein files the whole time.
Yeah,
Biden, they didn't care at all. I want to know why. They had all the opportunity in the world to make it an issue. It was never an issue, and it would have been the only issue had Trump truly been implicated. I want to know why Alan Dershowitz isn't out there walking around with Trump every single day. He's not only a former Epstein attorney, but he's also an officer of the court. And Dershowitz has said, look, I know all the perps. I know the victims. Trump ain't one of them. We all know that Trump's in a flight log. We also know Clinton's in there to the tune of 26 times. So he says, I get it. I know that. But Trump's neither a victim nor a perp. And so then he said, look, I mean, some of these people, none of them are in office, he said. Some of them, all of them are former people. A lot of them are dead. Some of them are still alive. And now, okay, I mean, I think Dershowitz should be talking more and more about this, because he's actually seen them. He can't divulge the exact details for obvious reasons. But the polling is showing that this is a concern for voters. And it's Rasmussen. This is what concerned me. Rasmussen put out a poll recently that said that 56% don't believe the FBI and the Justice Department. And they don't believe that they're telling the truth about the files.
That's my point.
Huge.
This is what's
only
frustrating for me.
21% believe what the government
But this is my
saying.
point.
That's a problem.
Part of the battle cry was we need to bring back credibility to the FBI and the DOJ. That was the battle cry for just, yes, surrogates, but Trump's overarching just trust in the government. Yep. They're coming after you. I'm standing in their way. All that, which is all true, by the way. But that's what's so frustrating to me as someone who supports President Trump and wants him to succeed. He's already succeeding, but in every area. And I saw this at the beginning. I just saw it, and not because I'm so great. I'm just saying I know how things work and credibility works and campaigns work. And when I saw that snowball going, I said, this ain't stopping. I knew, was it George? I kept calling you on day 3. I said, this is turning into something. It's going to create a life of its own.
I know.
And then you see, so
I'm trying to be measured. Because what
yes,
I don't want, I mean, you got to give it the attention. I talked to my dad. If Tony Arujo is listening, he'll tell you. I know he's going to say to me after the show. Explain to me why you guys are talking about this. You're talking so much about the Epstein file. I'm like, yeah, Pop. We're talking about it because everybody's talking about it, and right now it is starting to affect the polling.
The Democrats are talking about it.
And it's stupid. And
they're keeping it alive.
I'm not convinced that these are, lasting changes and that it's all over for Trump. Traditionally, in case you guys don't know this, everybody who's listening to this show, I think you guys are pretty educated people who listen to this show, and you know that traditionally the party that is out of power tends to get the House, at least one of the 2 houses of Congress.
And that matters right now.
That works against us right from the get-go.
Yeah.
We can't afford this bullshit. We just simply can't. So I really hope that I don't know, a coronavirus task force that actually tells the truth. Right, a coronavirus type task force that actually tells the truth, reports to the American people what's going on with this so that we take the air out of the balloon. And so those individuals who are making tons of money off of this, and I think some of them are just doing it for the paycheck. I do. I mean, all of a sudden they'll be out of a paycheck because it'll be boring because you're going to, sunlight's the best disinfectant. Start talking. I mean, I don't know if it's a presidential address. I don't know if it's a weekly task force. I don't know.
I think it needs to be an initial presidential address and then pass it on to your weekly task force.
And call it a day. I mean, just, if you think it's too much information at this point, is it? Maybe not. But this isn't working.
Yeah.
How do you think Hillary Clinton, Obama, Fauci, how do you think all of them are feeling right now? Do you think them just saying, this is ridiculous, is going to work?
Well, she's not demanding anything be released.
Well, not her, but there's just all kinds of news about how jacked up she was on
Well,
drugs.
the word is, part of what Tulsi Gabbard said, is that Putin had that information, that Putin actually thought that she was going to win, even though he preferred Trump just because she's nuts.
Yep.
But he thought she was going to win. And he was holding back blackmail stuff on her about her taking her whatever drugs she was on, her temper and her mental health issues, which we all saw. I mean, she's something wrong with her.
Yeah.
Remember that video that went around where they're there and she's with Bill, and then the firecrackers, and they thought there was like a aneurysm. She went, whoa, and then she looked around, and it's like that whole flash kind of triggered something. It was very odd.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Mushrooms.
I don't know what it was, but I don't know. She got too many D's. What?
Again,
I'm just saying.
Probably.
Salvo. She said it, not me.
No, the girls said it, not me.
Oh, okay.
Again, sadly, probably close to zero chance that she's going to be held accountable in any way. I
I know.
think the trains left the station. One can only hope, because I think there are some. I mean, there's some legitimate wrongdoing there, and it's just the evidence just keeps adding up. Everybody keeps turning the other way, and largely because of what I'm saying. Because people, I mean, it's almost like in the culture now. Oh, it's a Clinton. They'll never be held accountable.
I know, but
I don't like it. I don't like it when I say it, but it's almost like.
But this is going back. This is why, you know how you stop this crap? Is you have credibility and you keep the people.
You're right.
I know we talked about it offline about Joe Rogan endorsing that Texas. We'll talk about this maybe next week. That Texas Democrat state rep, that got on the show, I guess, and God, what a big deal. I mean, I know you told me that he's not the leading podcaster anymore. I don't keep up with that crap, but he's still significant. And the point is, what would make Rogan endorse this dude who's never done anything, but he's been a state rep, which is great, I guess. But golly, for president, he should run for president. That's our standard now. Never run a company, doesn't know budgets, doesn't know about economies that I know of. By the way, I want to make sure I'm accurate. And then he should run for president. What got him away? So was Rogan just for Trump and not for Republicans? Why would he even tinker with going back to Democrats? This guy's no blue dog Democrat. He's no Joe Manchin, from my understanding. The little that I've read on him, I need to do more research.
This is what worries me. As much as I like Rogan, it's an industry of I am whatever, for whoever, whenever. I don't like that. I don't. It doesn't make, because Nico, I was trying to play it out. Maybe I'm just trying to be too logical. So Joe Rogan's deeply concerned about the state of American culture, and Trump is the clear choice, and he's all in for Trump, right? And so because of this, really, because of this. So the alternative is what? Hakeem Jeffries? That's your alternative? It's complete lunacy. If Rogan was concerned, as Tucker Carlson was and Steve Bannon was, and half the comedians allegedly were,
Candace Owens. Why do you keep ignoring Candace for Salo?
I'm sorry, I forgot the
Come on.
She
yes,
just
of
got
course,
sued.
the paragon of credibility. So if
Salo.
Rogan's really concerned, especially given what he does for a living, the Democrats, it's a communist censorship machine. That's the alternative?
Look at next week.
Then
We'll
I don't
talk
get
about this. Look at what Mayor Jones is doing, or Gina, because I know she hates
Who?
They got to call
Yeah.
her Mayor. I mean, did you see the bullshit she's pulling about you can't stand up until she's finished. You can't have your phone in the meetings, which I don't know what authority she has under the city charter. I would tell her to go piss on herself. I really would. I'd say you're crazy, Gina. Like in when you have quorum and when you're in court, I got it. On the dais, I would call her Mayor Jones just out of courtesy and respect. But I'm gonna call you. Your name is Gina, and you're gonna call me. Do you call me council? Call me Councilman Jones or Freddie or whatever it is. Don't call me by my first name. Well, that's what she's making. This is the mindset of them. This control, this power trip, this total censorship and do as I say, not as I do type deal. That's the mindset of communists. We'll talk about it next week, but that's a whole different bullshit.
He got me there. I didn't expect him to go there because
where?
No, I mean where you went with Gina. I was still
Mayor
on.
Jones,
I was still
please,
on.
George.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
What's the matter with you?
Oh, how sexist of me. I was still on the Karen train about Hillary. I wanted to just read a clip from. This is part of the evidence that was provided by Gabbard concerning Hillary Clinton and the narrative that they were all in for Trump. That is, the Russians were all in for Trump. When in fact, they actually thought, if anybody, Hillary was going to win.
Yeah.
Even though the intelligence assessment said that Putin had said that he was ready for anybody, whether Trump or Hillary, that Russia was ready for either or. But if he had to pick somebody, he thought that Hillary was going to win. But here's something else that came out as a result of a oversight investigation by Congress in 2020. This never made the light of day. See, I want to quote it. According to our own intelligence, this is the Russians speaking, right? The what's it called? The Russian Intelligence Service, the SVR. According to our intelligence, Hillary Clinton was keeping all of her medical problems strictly secret, including from top staffers. But per Russia's intelligence from the DNC, Obama and party leaders found the state of Hillary Clinton's health to be, quote, extraordinarily alarming. She suffered from, quote, intensified psycho-emotional problems, including uncontrollable fits of anger, aggressiveness, and cheerfulness. She was placed on a daily schedule of heavy tranquilizers. She was, as we already all knew, obsessed with a thirst for power. The SVR, formerly named KGB, again, this is from the Congressional Oversight Investigation in 2020, also had intelligence indicating that Hillary Clinton suffered from type 2 diabetes, a diagnosis that most could make just by visual inspection. And then they go on to talk about ischemic heart disease, deep vein thrombosis, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. I know the latter is deadly as it killed someone close to me. This isn't an expert in a report. Now, if Russia actually was determined to defeat Hillary, why did they keep this intelligence secret? And the point is, we're going to keep these things secret because we believe Hillary Clinton is going to win. They want to hold it against her
after she wins.
Exactly.
That's right.
So if this would have been introduced in the ICA, it would have blown apart the notion that Putin was all in with Trump.
Well, first of all, if Trump was allegedly to be in a hotel in Russia, some high-end motel, with girls peeing on him or vice versa,
Right.
you don't think Putin would know about it in his own country?
He would have sent the girls.
I mean, please. I mean, come on.
But I think that's how crazy this is. That while Hillary was paying Christopher Steele through Fusion GPS to fabricate quote unquote oppo derogatory information on Trump, that what they actually found was that Putin had derogatory information on Hillary.
Well, George,
that never made the light of day.
Mayor Jones texted me and said that she's holding you in contempt for calling her Gina. That's ridiculous. You owe her an apology. All right, let's wrap up, guys, and look. Thank you guys for joining us again. Always, please share this with somebody. If you like what we do, or even if you don't, you still want to donate, please do that as well. You know, we just want to reach a bigger audience, invite more conversation, even people that don't agree with us. We love people that don't agree with us in the sense of share your thoughts. Hopefully, do it respectfully because it makes everyone's position stronger when you can refine them against each other and sharpen. I believe iron sharpens iron, and that's what it is. And so it's either going to solidify where I believe, and maybe I'm even stronger in my belief, or maybe I'm missing something. But that's the idea of this show from day one, was to foster critical thinking. And the way I describe that is sparring with ideas in your mind, because ideas have consequences and not all ideas are the same. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your families. Bye-bye.